Ever wonder how felt florists get beautifully curved petals? I'm gonna show you how. Let's go over the variety of tools that you're gonna need to curl your petals. There are a little bit extra things that you're gonna need that you normally wouldn't have probably around. Things you gotta have. Either a stiffening spray or hairspray. This is a little cheap little hack to get great stiff felt without spending a ton of money on stiffener or really trying to make your own stiffener, because who wants to do that? Nobody's got time for that, right? The also fun tool you're gonna need is a curling iron. This is one that's completely dedicated to felt flowers, so I don't use this for my hair at all, but I have this 100% set aside for flower making. It comes with multiple different size heads, so that depending on the size of the petal you're curling or how much detail you want, you can swap those out. And then it also comes with one of these styling gloves. Let's go ahead and get started on how to actually curl your petals. So I've got these petals here that I want to go ahead and curl. The first thing I do is I get just, a piece of scrap paper or whatever you want, something thick enough that's not gonna destroy your surface underneath and that you can kind of move around. My go-to thing for stiffening felt is hairspray. I buy this at Walmart. It's like $2 a can. Things to think about. You want something that is unscented and fragrance free. I mean, I guess if you want fragrance flowers, that's totally fine, but I don't like that. I purposely buy unscented hairspray. This brand specifically actually comes out and it does have a smell to it. It's like a flowery floral smell. And so it doesn't really smell bad, but that smell completely goes away when it dries. That's kind of nice over some of the other unscented hairsprays because they do have like more of a chemically smell. Finding an unscented hairspray has been a challenge until I landed on this one. Also, you're gonna wanna make sure that you're gonna wanna get the strongest hold that you can possibly find. Usually it's like most hairsprays are in levels and I always get the level 5. Just remember the 80s with the big gigantic hair. That's the stuff you want. You can also use fabric stiffening spray. This works okay. It does not give you as strong as a stiffen that I like to have on my felt. This will be a little bit lighter. It might fall out after if there's humidity in the air. It might slowly kind of break it down. You might start losing your shape. And that's why I don't like using fabric stiffeners. It does work, but it's not my favorite. I always land on the hairspray. The other thing that I don't like about this is that when spraying it, it's this top handle. So this is not aerosol, which is also there is a pro to that because you're not inhaling aerosol, but at the same time, your finger gets really stiff. If you're stiffening multiple petals, this just takes forever. And at the end of it, your finger's sore, it hurts, it's not the best. Does work though. And it is safer as far as a non-aerosol. So you gotta weigh what your end goals are and what's more important to you. This, however, is an aerosol. The trigger on this is fantastic. I've never gotten a tired finger from it, but it's an aerosol. So use it in a well-ventilated area. If I'm indoors for whatever reason, I'll do small batches indoors, but I'll turn my ceiling fan on. I'll make sure, that it's got a lot of room and breathing area. I'll do it quickly and I will move it away from me. If I'm doing a large batch of petals, I'll go outside and actually spray them so that all of that aerosol just dissipates really fast, because who wants to be breathing in more stuff that you don't need to? All you do is, if you're gonna go the hairspray route, is you're gonna go ahead and spray. And I am giving a generous spray here. I am really coating it. This one specifically comes off white, but it dries. You can't even tell. But I'm making sure that it is very well saturated. So I'll kind of show you with this one too. But this one is significantly harder. It doesn't move through the bottle as well. And I'll sit there and pump it for like God knows how long before I get a good even spray on it. And then it's splotchy and it's not giving that like aerosol wide coverage. So it didn't even really work for me right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and use this one. So before you can curl these, you're gonna wanna let them dry. What I do is I do a batch of them. I have noticed that if I leave them outside to dry, they take significantly longer to dry. In a dry environment, inside, they seem to dry so much faster, and any sort of humidity outside, they just don't dry for me. Wherever you want to leave them to dry, make sure they dry fully so that they are completely dry to the touch. You'll notice the difference between a wet one and a dry one, where it's like you have, like, there's just less give, they're so much more stiffer, but there is definitely flexibility in here. So these ones are all 100% dry. What you'll notice is they have, since we only sprayed one side, they have like the soft, nice felt side, and then they have the rough side that you sprayed. What we wanna do is we wanna curl on that rough side. We don't wanna curl on the soft side because we're activating the hairspray that's on the rough side. So that's the part that's gonna just like really, really gravitate and form to the heat and hold on to that heat. And all those fibers are just gonna grip to it versus the soft side. You can manipulate felt without the stiffening spray as well. But again, anytime you add any sort of moisture to the air, the fibers just kind of really grasp onto it, and then like they can start to lose their shape. So I have my iron set to 239 degrees. This one's weird. It's got a digital readout about what temperature your iron is at, but it definitely goes to, I don't know how high this goes. This goes pretty high. It's like 400 degrees, I think. It goes to 450. So we don't need it that high. You don't want to burn your felt at all. I'm leaving mine at 239 degrees. Anywhere in that range, 248, 230, anywhere in that is gonna give you a good solid piece without burning your felt. So I'm putting my glove on because you wanna keep your hands safe because you're definitely gonna touch this iron. So this is at 230 degrees. Wearing this glove, I'm feeling some heat, but it's not at all heat to hurt me or burn me or whatsoever. So make sure you have your protective glove on. This glove came with the curling iron, but you can easily find these on Amazon as well. I'm making sure and feeling for that rough side. I'm putting it on my fingers because I can kind of form my fingers into the right shape as well, and it just kind of gives you that flexibility. So I am putting the direct heat and I am pushing really, really hard, and I'm forming my fingers into a dome shape around. I'm just twisting my curling iron. And I'm gonna do this for a few seconds until it really activates every bit of fiber in there and just gives a really good shape. I like to over curl all my petals ahead of time. That way, when I want less, I can just spread them out. I'll show you in a second here. Whereas like you can't add more curl later, you can only take away curl. Just like when you're curling your hair. So I'm putting a lot of pressure, I'm turning quite a bit, a few seconds. I mean, I probably did it for like about a minute now. And then you have this beautiful curved petal. So like I was saying, if like this is too much for you, you can very much just like open it up and stretch it and take some of it out, but you definitely can't add it back in. After I've curled all my petals, then I'll make a peony like this, for instance, and then I'll glue all of my petals back onto this flower. So one thing I do want to talk about is my curling iron, for instance, has a ton of buildup, and this is all just hairspray and felt fibers. This is probably why I take a little bit longer when I'm curling, because there's quite the barrier between the actual heat source getting the flower. Mine probably are gonna take a lot longer to curl than say like a brand new curling wand. Every once in a while I will clean it, but I actually like this coating around it. It kind of made this like nice little coat and barrier between my flower and the wand where like my petals don't stick to it. If this was fully clean, sometimes it does stick, and that's why you want to constantly do this curling motion or rotating motion. That way your wand is not sticking to your felt. To simply clean this off, what I use actually is I put my glove on, I get either a wet paper towel or a wet baby wipe. I use the water wipes because they're literally just a towel and soaked in water. There's no other stuff in them. And I literally, while it's on hot with a glove, will just rotate it on, and it'll slowly, I'll break it all off and be done, and you can clean it easily. That's it. That is the super secret hidden way of how to get a stiff curled petal for your curled petal flowers. Super simple way to add so much more depth and variety to your flower. Let me know if this was super helpful, what flowers you're gonna use this for, if this just completely opens the doors to what you can do as far as making flowers at home. Let me know what you're gonna do in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so that way you can find out all the cool tips and tricks on how to make the best felt flowers at home. be sure to check out my shop link below and find tons of different felt flower kits so that you can get started in felt flower making. Thanks, guys!